Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. So I have a burning question for you. Do you have a type? And if you do have a type, I want you to ask yourself, is this type working for you? Oftentimes the answer to this question might be that, okay, so your type is tall or looks like George Clooney or Scarlett Johansson, or maybe that person's funny and witty. I mean, regardless of what it might be, the concept of a type can often dictate our dating habits for better or for worse. And if you figure out how your type is, what are you doing? Are you really being intentional in the way that you're dating to go against the type? Or do you like the type that you have? Are you using it to your advantage? Type is typically referred to as a pattern that's been repeated in your romantic relationships, or something that you are drawn to, that you're attracted to. And while this pattern might include things like appearance, the more important aspects of a person's type aren't anything found on the surface. They're your values. And there are so many different things that make up a person's type. It could be based on what was modeled for you, early on, and you've seen modeled for you in your childhood and formative years. And as a therapist, I see this happen over and over again, where we kind of pick the same people. They might have a different costume on, and then you unzip the costume and it's the same person. It's how did they get there? But it's not your fault, because these are familiar, kind of interactions that really have started early on. And it could be what you think you are deserving of, or based on your past dating experiences. If you find yourself referencing more superficial things like height or hair color, it's important to try to get to the root of what these things mean for you. Maybe you loved your tall ex because you felt protected, but didn't like that they interrupted you when having conversations. And now you know that you value feeling safe and feeling heard. Not only will this reveal any dating patterns you have, quite frankly, but it will also demonstrate why you are drawn to these qualities. I'll never forget this woman. I mean, she wanted so badly to counteract her patterns, and her dad was a narcissist, and of course, she kept picking narcissists. And every time she would date someone, she would think that it was not that guy. She's like, this time it'll be different. This time it'll be different. But lo and behold, it was the same guy. So I really had to teach her how to date smarter, not harder, and break those patterns. And with that, it actually had to do with her actions and the way that she was, first of all, going at dating, but also really doing some data collection on what it is that she was attracted to. I often do this thing called chemistry analysis, where people are really looking at different parts of chemistry and what comprises of it. And when she did this analysis, she realized that the people that she was attracted to in the past had very low emotional IQ, but really high scores when it came to physical. So I had her go out with a bunch of guys that she wasn't initially physically attracted to. And she almost didn't do it, and stopped coaching with me. I said, look, your type isn't working for you. So the only way we're going to get rid of this pattern is to try on something different. It's just like shopping. If you keep trying on the same thing and it's not working for you, sometimes it feels a little weird trying on that red dress or that pink top, but often that's what serves you, but it may be a little uncomfortable. So anyway, that's what she did. She ends up going out with a lot of guys that had high EQ, and she fell in love with this guy who she wasn't initially attracted to physically in the beginning, but because they had this really strong connection, it built over time, and it's a really healthy relationship today. So with me today is a friend and cohort whom I've known, for many years. I can't even think back. And I've been on her many fabulous summits. She's amazing. And she focuses on how women can find the right man. She's the founder and CEO of Love by Design. She began coaching professional single women in 2010. She's the master certified coach and a leading Eniostyle, I hope I'm saying that right, expert in the US who provides an example of what's possible in love. What makes her approach different is that it's based on a proven personality typing system. I can't wait to talk about this. And she hosts a highly rated podcast on iTunes, Love by Design, and has been featured all over the place, CBS, Media and Medium, and other media such as the Charisma Quotient. Welcome, Polina Solda.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here and talk about personality typing, my favorite topic.
Right? Like, and it's such a hot, we were talking off air about this. It's such a hot topic now. I was just watching the Kelly and Ryan show this morning, and they were talking about types and that there is a trend right now that people are trying to go against their type because they're realizing and they're opening up and broadening, kind of their type and just giving more people chances. And I love that. I think this is a great trend. So I'm happy to have you because I want to hear, like, your system rocks. But before we get into that, like, and honestly, for all the years that I've known you, I really don't know, like, your full backstory. Like, how did you get into all this?
Yeah, so it's actually, I'm going to link that story to what I do now. And this really, the secret to, it's so empowering. So my biggest value is empowering clients, and all of my clients use this personality typing system that I teach them so they are able to recognize the most compatible partner for them. And when I was single and dating after my divorce, I actually was told by the whole industry that there's a certain type of man. This is the kind of man you go for. And in Eniostyle, the system that I teach, so there are only 4 types. It's totally psychology backed. It's based on Carl Jung's psychological types. And it's very simple, easy to remember. It's 4 cardinal points: north, east, south, and west. And we all know that we're logical people, creative, emotional, and sensory.
Oh, I
So
love that.
I'm a west type. And so I was, as a very powerful, strong, ambitious woman, I was looking for somebody who was even more of that, the same type. And the constant issue that I had is that they were not attracted to me, or I had to play a role, like I had to be less of who I was. And everything has changed when I just had enough of spinning in circles. And I decided that I'm just going to show up authentically myself, and I'm just going to be open to dating somebody different. And when I went on a date but now it explains, it's not because I'm an expert or I've done this work for so long or I got lucky. So my husband is an East type, which is complementary, ideal. It's called a dual partner. So it's very simple. North and South, ideal for each other. West and East. Every other combination, there are going to be challenges. Like a West and a West, there will be confrontation. Who is going to be number one? Who's going to make decisions? Who's going to be the leader? So all of those issues were gone because we're just naturally compatible with each other. So he brings that. He's very light and playful, adventurous, and he's flexible and easygoing. So it's very easy. Like if I had a challenge making plans where to go out for dinner with somebody who also wanted to make a decisions, and we had all that challenge and power struggle and confrontation, all of it is gone. It's just so easy to be together. And I was wondering, like, what makes this relationships, like why some relationships just easily work. And when I discovered Eniostyle, which is the system that was developed uh, several decades ago, and it's really the most effective, the easiest, the simplest system to learn when it comes to personality typing, because you don't need to do any tests. You just can type somebody by just talking with them or looking at their profile, and that changed everything. Because when you know that not everybody is compatible with you, and it starts with you, and you only do what works for you, it's easy to be yourself. It's like there's no effort. You don't have to do anything. And then the kind of people, when you only focus on your compatible partner, besides just you get to be yourself, it's easy to be together. They are drawn to the exact qualities that you have. Like my husband loves that I'm so ambitious and driven and strong. And that was an issue with those West men who, just like me, they were like, no, you're supposed to be in your feminine, and I decide.
Wow.
And all of that issues are gone, and it's just so easy to be together. I want every person to experience that. All of my clients say it's so easy when you choose your dual partner.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, so here's a question because, before you met your husband, were you drawn towards people like you? Or, you know what I mean? Like, did you break your own pattern or how did that
So
work?
here's what happened. It's a great question because I thought that who I should look for is, and it made sense. Like, okay, there's just it's always outdated systems. Like, okay, a man, he has to be stronger and he has to provide, protect, and lead. But naturally, who I am as my qualities and strengths, like I am this way myself, and so having a partner who brings those different complementary qualities, it's completely different. So it's a great question. I think when we especially I see for women who, like, our life circumstances, when, let's say, we've been, again, our parents told us, like, you got to get this career, it's secure, it's like their values, it's maybe even based on their type, if they value security and system and stability, like North parents, and you're very like free spirit, creative person, but they're going to say, no, 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 like it's not, like, go into this career. So it could be that we actually chose a career that's not aligned with who we are, or we were with somebody who wasn't our dual partner, our compatible type. And what happens is that we try to be kind of somebody we're not, a little bit of everything. And what happens is that we get into what I call the middle type. It's with women that they disconnect from ourselves. It's like,
Hmm.
I can be this, I can make the Excel spreadsheets, I can also cook, and I can come up with ideas, and I can take care of everything. It's like nobody's like that, actually. Like, and that is the problem. When you get into that, you become like this very average version, and like men are not attracted to that. You don't even know who you are, so you don't even know who is your dual partner, like out of this four. And it becomes a real problem. Like, if he cannot find you, if you don't even know who you are, you don't know who you're looking for, how will you ever find each other?
I love that because I think what you're talking about is acceptance, being who you are, being authentically who you are,
Mhm.
and not, I call it shape shifting, what you're talking about, shape
Yes.
shifting into
Oh yeah.
something that you're not. And I see a lot of women doing that. Like they'll try to transform into something that they think that guy wants of
Mm,
them. And that's what ends up attracting lopsided, relationships because it's not really who you are. But I think a lot of women don't know who they are. So, like in
mm.
your typing system, when you're doing this, does it kind of help define the type of woman they
Oh,
are?
absolutely.
Yeah.
This is the first step. So I always say it always starts with you, and actually everything is then driven by that. And so what I do is, inside of my program, my clients learn the system, and I believe you gotta understand how it works. It's like, kind of like, yeah, I can tell you, this is the car and this is how it drives, but it's very different when you sit down and, like, what's under the hood, like, how it works. Because then, like, you start, it's sort of like you put on these lenses. It doesn't take any extra effort or time, but you start seeing the world. Like, you watch the celebrities, you watch movies, you talk with people, you start seeing, like, what's underneath the iceberg. And so the most important part of it is that they're learning, like, here are all the types, here are the criteria, they discovering who they are. So I never rob my clients of, like, I can type anybody in just a matter of few minutes, but they discover, they come to me with a hypothesis. This is what my type is. This is why. And then it informs everything else, because you automatically know who your most complementary partner. Then you can see right away exactly why your access didn't work out, because 90% of the time they were incompatible, and they
Hmm.
try to be somebody, like, we women, because we are so deep wired to be in a relationship, to connect. We bend, like, we disconnect from who we are in order to keep this relationship. And you can do that, but the cost is so huge, because first of all, you lose who you are in the process. Second, if that man is not compatible with you, and he's subconsciously looking for that type of woman, right? Like West type, we have a type that like Why Men Love Beaches book was written
Oh,
about. It's a
yeah.
very certain type. But an East type of woman will never be that. She will never be that. Like it's just we're gonna be an average version of somebody we're not. And it's a lot of work. It's just you have to that saying, like you have to work on your relationships. Like I don't believe in that at all. In dual compatible relationships, you don't have to, because your relationship just work. It's just easy. You just can be yourselves. And I don't have to tell my husband, listen, when we make decisions, can you just please be flexible and just allow me to just like, I want this. Like, I don't have to have this conversation. He's just like, yeah, like he has an idea. I was like, okay, it sounds great. We're going to make it happen. Like, this is what we're doing. And he's like, okay, great. And it works.
Oh my God. Like bada bing, bada boom. Like you make it sound so
Right.
simple.
It is
Well,
simple. It's that simple.
yeah, well, and this is what I wanted to, because I can almost hear some listeners
Mm.
listening to this and thinking, oh, you mean all I got to do is just find out what my type is, and then boom, like poof, I'll attract the one.
So you
That
gotta know what, when you will know who your
yeah.
most who's right compatible partner for you. You will understand exactly why. So I'll just give a simple, super simple example. If
Okay,
you
great.
North type of woman, so everything we do is driven by that mission. Like it's gonna show up. Like a North woman, she wants security, stability. She wants to keep that system. It's very systematic thinking. Think about Miranda in Sex and the City. She's gonna have her career where she's using like very smart, using her intellect, logical systems, and probably will work, maybe corporate or some sort of system. And she's going to have a schedule, and she will want to make plans a week ahead because that's how she is. It's just
Mm,
like she's got her calendar. Now, her most compatible type of man is a South man. He's not as structured and punctual and like so rigid, but his mission to feel, to connect, to be in a relationship, he will be punctual. He will follow through because his mission is to connect and build relationships. He will do it for the ethics of relationships, not for the logic. Well, I said I'm going to do it, but they align. It's already, he's going to make plans and he's going to honor that. Now, and this type of man is a type of man who's very creative, driven by interest, and kind of like his biggest value is freedom. He thinks in a very different way. He's got the world of ideas. He creatively, he might be taking on a new project next week. He doesn't know what time he's going to wake up tomorrow and when he will have breakfast and what it's going to be. He might even forget about it. Every day is a different. So what happens then? It's next week, and this East type of man, something changed. He might got distracted. He saw somebody else, or he changed his plans. He's now traveling, and he's like telling her on the day of they're supposed to meet. Oh, by the way, let's reschedule. Something came up, and that for her, she was like, oh, it's already. They never even met. It is
yeah,
already an issue.
yeah.
If yeah, do you see how it's like
Hmm.
already not compatible? So how easy would it be if that South type of man, he's like, yeah, like, and he will reach out, he will confirm, he will communicate, he will remind every day. And she just receives, like, yeah, it's happening. Like, relax, I know what's happening. Now, my husband is an East type, and actually, it took him, he called me for 6 months. We never met. Once a month, he would call, we chat. I was in the midst of something. For whatever reason, we could never meet. But when he finally called me again, I was like, listen, let's just like, I said, let's just meet like in like after tomorrow. It was like this. And we met, and it was last minute and it was spontaneous. And look, 14 years later, but it never would, like, for some women will be like, what? Like, no, it doesn't work for me. And that is the difference that I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Now, does it work in reverse? Like when people take this test, can a man take
Oh,
it
it's
and
not a
see?
test. So it's really, it goes beyond you.
Oh,
I don't believe tests can
okay.
accurately represent who you are. I think learning, like, it's like speaking the language. Like here's the alphabet, here's how you put it together so you can read it fluently, versus like somebody just shows you visible words. To me, it's like the difference.
I
It's
see.
in depth. Yeah.
Okay, so this can work for men and women.
Oh,
It sounds
absolutely.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What are some mistakes that you see people make? Like when,
In
just like maybe when they're trying to attract something different, like they learn about their type and then
Mhm.
maybe they're trying to like break their own patterns. Are there like certain mistakes you see?
Yeah, what's interesting is that when my clients connect to what the type, like who they truly are, and they start, for example, like a South, an example, South woman. So South mission is to feel, relationships are really important. She wants to communicate, and she also might have a tendency for like getting anxious, which, by the way, with her compatible partner who's North, very reliable, predictable, there's no more anxiety anymore. He's just like, okay, it's as good as done. We planned it. But if she goes for an East type of man, who is a lot of excitement, like he's gonna put you on that roller coaster of emotions.
Mhm.
He's gonna be romantic and interesting and fun. But when he's gonna ghost you, the next week you never know what's gonna happen. For a South type of women, when they see like, oh my gosh, I was going after the East type of man, I see how it never worked out. I see wow, it brought the worst qualities in me. They would get anxious, they would cry, they would create all the drama. And they're like, yeah, it totally makes sense. So I think for them is really kind of challenging and like, okay, I'll just continue like, but this is more exciting. This is interesting. I actually had some clients who would be like, but this is more interesting. And again, I'm going to say, look, you can choose any type you want. It's your life. You're an expert in your life. Just the question you want to ask yourself, what is going to cost you? Because there are certain challenges that get completely eliminated when you choose your most compatible partner, because it just like naturally works. You just bring like truly the best in each other. Like that North man will give you the guarantees and the certainty. He's going to be committed, reliable, and you can just completely relax. There is no more anxiety, no more drama. And for a South woman, I think the biggest mistake would be to say, but they're not so interesting. They're not so much fun. And then you get to choose. I think also one more mistake is, I'm going to say that it's just so big. For all those women who write that ideal man list, and I've done it myself, what they do, we all do, whoever's done it, you write the best qualities of each of the four. It will look
Hmm.
like reliable, committed, punctual, spontaneous, romantic, full of surprises, adventurous, emotionally available, communicative, but also driven, successful, masculine, ambitious. So I call it 4-in-1 man. He doesn't exist. We just take the
Right.
best out of each one. And that is why every time you meet somebody, we check most of the boxes, but we don't check all of them. You just keep searching and searching and searching. How long are you going to look for 4-in-1 man? Because nobody's going to be like everything.
I'm so glad you said that because that was some of the things that I was thinking about. And I think it's almost an epidemic now where, people are becoming very transactional
Mm.
and they're vetting every person so hard. Like they'll see one thing on a profile or they'll feel into one quality of a man on the date and they're out of there. It's like kind of this
Mm.
everyone's expecting everything. And what I
Mm.
love about your system is that I think it's, just really pinpointing the core areas, like negotiables or non-negotiables. We've heard other terminology around it, but
Mhm.
this makes it so simplified and to really give things a chance. And the other thing that I really like is that it's almost like a foundation that people can really learn to change a pattern, because obviously it still takes work after that because, no matter what, if you're going after an east when you're used to a north, it's not even going to feel good at first. Like it's going to be weird, for
Yeah,
some people because they're
exactly.
not, especially if they're so used to going for the north or whatever it is. I mean, I
Mhm.
see this with my clients, but now that there's like a system in place and they know who they are, it empowers women to be like,
It's
okay,
empowering. Yeah,
I
you
know
get
what
to
I
choose.
am and I'm
Mhm.
going to try this on for size because I
Yeah,
know that that's better for me.
yeah. And you also, Kim, you also brought that like key, like you really just zoomed into the core of this, is acceptance, is really let's just get real. Like, we humans, nobody's
Yeah.
perfect. Nobody, like, you not like, for those women who just like everything has to be like, no, we're going to have strengths, and every strength we have is going, the other side of that, there is a lack. So for example, and that's why we can't have everything like a North type of man. He is going to be very predictable, very consistent. But then a woman might say, well, I want a man who like does what he says, but then he doesn't says that. And she's like, okay, he's kind of boring.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Like,
Or they want this East guy who is like full of like, he's so romantic, he's so spontaneous, like exciting. Like, what is exciting? You don't know what's going to happen. That's what makes it exciting. And then he loses interest. He's so interesting. Like, well, at the moment he's not interested, he's gone.
yeah. And I'm going to take this one deeper layer just as a therapist, and this is why this is so important. What you're talking about is that if you've had a pattern that started when you were young with your like parent per se, there's things that go on in the brain. It's called familiarity principle, where we
Yeah.
all default.
Confirmation bias, right?
Yeah,
That's,
well, that
yeah,
too,
yeah,
right? Like we
yeah.
all default back to what we know. So it's the brain's way of trying to work out something different. And
Mhm,
to break that habit, it's gonna take a minute, and it may
mhm.
not feel like attraction even, because you're
Exactly.
just so used to like being the caretaker or
You
not
are
setting boundaries.
so right. You are just like brilliant, spot on, Kim, because what happens is that right now, I just literally, like, I had a group coaching call earlier, just like before us. And I was like, this man are not even on your radar. You're not even attracted to them right now. And again, our human brain, like, it's like things and patterns. It thinks about like what I already know. And we think what we attracted to.
Yes.
Why? But it's something that's familiar. It's something that is comfortable. It's something that our brain reads as safe. Oh, that's why we keep having the same like men of the same type, but different faces, different looks, right? Remember when you said about that, the
Yes.
suit?
Yes.
It's exactly why it's happening. So if you want something different, it's going to, yeah, there will be that resistance, or your brain will say, well, I'm not attracted. But before you feel attracted, our feelings are created by our thoughts. There's a thought first that you think, and it's familiar.
Yeah.
And this is where we also do our work on our mind.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important. So I think that's really, for you listening, important to know that like this isn't just one and done. Like, oh, here's my type. Like there are some things that you're gonna have to do to break that pattern. But I love, now it's such a like release knowing that, hey, well, this is why all these relationships didn't work. Like, this is the type that I'm compatible with. So, Polina,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on.
Yes,
This
it
is
was so much
awesome
fun.
conversation. Just tell everyone where they can find you and if there's
Yeah,
anything
let's
you want to
connect.
offer.
Yeah, I think about, so I'm also I have a podcast that's called Find the Right Man. So if you're listening to Kim, listen to mine as well. And if you have any questions, you want to ask me anything, DM me on Instagram, Polina Solda. So I'm sure you add a link and let's connect on Instagram. Yeah, ask me any questions.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. And I know I'll
Thank
see you
you.
again in many forms.
Yes, we're gonna do more fun events. Thank
Yeah,
you so
and I
much for
need to
having
come.
me on
I
this
need to
show.
come check out the scene. If those of you who are watching on YouTube, she has this fabulous background of where she. I can't believe you live there. Anyway, Polina, thank you. I love you,
Oh, much love. Thank you so much.
and thanks for joining me today. This has been the Charisma Quotient. You listening? I'm your host, of course, Kimmy Seltzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. And if you want to know more, make sure you go to my site, as always, kimmyseltzer.com. And if you are attracting that same person, but it's a different costume and you want to find out how to break that pattern, hop on a call with me to talk about ways to crack that code. Make sure you know from Polina what type you are compatible with so that we can both help you. Just click the link you see below in the show notes to schedule that. And who knows, that one call could change the entire course of your life. Remember, working on you is working on your dating life. That's all for now.